The morning sun cast long shadows across the Southwest Airlines terminal at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. James Mitchell adjusted his crisp pilot's uniform and straightened his golden wings pin, the same one he'd worn for the past 15 years. At 52, he carried himself with the confidence of a man who'd spent more than half his life in the cockpit. As he walked through the terminal, other airline employees nodded respectfully. To them, Captain Mitchell wasn't just another pilot. He was a legend. His face smiled down from recruitment posters on the walls, and new pilots studied his safety protocols during their training. In the airline's history, Mitchell gave her his trademark warm smile, the one that had graced countless Southwest Airlines promotional materials. "Every flight's perfect when you're flying with the best crew in the business," he replied, his voice carrying the gentle Texas drawl that made passengers feel instantly at ease. In the crew briefing room, Mitchell's presence commanded immediate attention. Junior pilots leaned forward in their chairs, eager to absorb any wisdom he might share. He'd earned the nickname the Professor for his willingness to mentor younger crew members, often staying late after flights to answer questions or offer guidance. "Look at these maintenance records," he said, holding up the morning's flight documents. "This is what perfection looks like. Every detail matters, every signature counts." The younger pilots nodded, scribbling notes. None of them noticed the slight tremor in Mitchell's hand as he set the papers down. That morning's flight was typical for Mitchell, a busy route from Dallas to Chicago O'Hare. As passengers boarded, many recognized him from the airline's safety videos. Some even asked for selfies, which he happily obliged. "Safest hands in the sky," they'd say, and Mitchell would smile modestly. In the cockpit, Mitchell went through his pre-flight checklist with methodical precision. His co-pilot, Tom Rodriguez, watched in admiration. 15 years of perfect flights, Rodriguez remarked. "That's got to be some kind of record." Mitchell's eyes remained fixed on the instruments. "Records are just numbers, Tom. What matters is getting these people home safely to their families." He tapped the wedding ring on his finger, a habit he'd developed over the years. Back at Southwest headquarters, Mitchell's influence extended far beyond the cockpit. His safety recommendations had become company policy. He helped design training programs, contributed to emergency protocols, and even advised on the airline's maintenance schedules. When Mitchell spoke at industry conferences, other airlines listened. His office wall displayed countless awards: Pilot of the Year, Safety Excellence, Outstanding Leadership. But the prized possession was a letter from a passenger whose life Mitchell had saved during a medical emergency mid-flight. He diverted the plane and coordinated with ground emergency services while keeping everyone calm. The passenger's family sent him Christmas cards every year. That evening, after his flight returned to Dallas, Mitchell sat alone in his office, staring at his computer screen. The maintenance logs glowed softly in the dimming light. His phone buzzed, another message from an unknown number. He deleted it without reading it, just as he'd done with the others. As he prepared to leave, Mitchell paused at his office window, watching planes take off and land in the gathering dusk. Each set of lights represented hundreds of lives, all trusting in the system he'd helped build. He touched the golden wings pin on his uniform, allowing himself a small smile. The cleaning lady found him still there an hour later. "Working late again, Captain Mitchell?" "Just making sure everything's perfect, Maria. Always perfect." He gathered his things, said goodnight, and walked toward the parking lot. His car was one of the last in the employee section. On his drive home, Mitchell passed a billboard featuring his own face: Southwest Airlines, safety first, people always. The slogan had been his idea. In his rearview mirror, the airport's lights twinkled like stars, each one marking another safe landing, another perfect flight. What no one knew, not the admiring crew members, not the trusting passengers, not even his loyal co-pilots, was that James Mitchell's perfect record held a dark secret. And in less than 24 hours, that secret would shatter the foundations of one of America's most trusted airlines, leaving a trail of betrayal that would shake the aviation industry to its core. Little did he know that this evening would be his last as Southwest's golden boy. The next time he'd see his office, it would be through very different eyes, and the perfect record he built would crumble like a house of cards in a storm. The FBI's cybercrime division in Washington, D.C. buzzed with activity on a quiet Tuesday morning. Special Agent Sarah Martinez stared at her computer screen, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. The email that had just arrived made her sit up straight, instantly alert. "Sir, you need to see this," she called to her supervisor, Agent Tom Baker. The email had come through their anonymous tip line, but this was different from the usual reports. Attached were dozens of files, flight logs, maintenance records, and financial documents, all connected to Southwest Airlines. "It's not just random data," Martinez explained, scrolling through the files. "Look at these maintenance signatures. The same pilot, James Mitchell, signed off on inspections for planes that were supposedly in two different locations at the same time." Baker leaned closer, his forehead creasing with concern. The anonymous tipster had included timestamps, dates, and specific flight numbers. But what caught Martinez's attention was a series of wire transfers to offshore accounts, all linking back to scheduled maintenance dates. Each transfer was small enough to avoid automatic flags but added up to millions over 3 years. "Pull everything we have on Mitchell," Baker ordered, already reaching for his phone. Within hours, a team of agents had gathered in Conference Room B, walls covered with photos and timelines. James Mitchell's smiling face looked down at them from Southwest Airlines' promotional posters they collected. As they dug deeper, more irregularities emerged. Planes that should have been grounded for maintenance were cleared for flight. Parts that should have been replaced were logged as inspected and approved. All bore Mitchell's signature or those of his closest colleagues. "He couldn't have done this alone," Martinez said, connecting red strings between photos on their evidence board. "Look at these patterns. We're talking about a network of at least 6 people, maybe more." She pointed to manifests showing cargo loads that didn't match passenger flights. The investigation moved quickly but quietly. FBI agents posed as maintenance workers, airport staff, and even passengers. They photographed Mitchell's movements, recorded his conversations, and tracked his phone activity. Every piece of evidence pointed to a massive scheme that had somehow stayed hidden for years. Late one night, as Martinez reviewed security footage, she noticed something strange. Mitchell always arrived hours before his flights, spending time alone in maintenance hangars. Using thermal imaging cameras, agents discovered he was meeting with someone, a figure that never appeared on regular security feeds. The breakthrough came when they cracked Mitchell's encrypted email account. Hidden behind layers of security were messages to contacts in 3 different countries. The contents were damning. Detailed discussions about bypassing safety protocols, coordinating false maintenance reports, and managing payoffs. "This is bigger than we thought," Baker said, running his hands through his graying hair. "We're not just looking at fraud. These safety violations, they're putting lives at risk." The team worked through the night, building their case file. They needed to move fast, but they also needed to be careful. One wrong move could tip off Mitchell and his accomplices. Martinez stared at a photo of Mitchell with his family at a company awards dinner. How does someone like this go so wrong? She wondered aloud. He was their golden boy, their safety expert. Baker shook his head. "Sometimes the ones who know the system best are the ones who know how to break it." The decision to arrest Mitchell came after they intercepted a message about a large shipment coming through on flight SW-1244 from LAX to Chicago. The FBI couldn't risk waiting any longer, but arresting a pilot mid-flight would be unprecedented, dangerous, and would require perfect timing. "We'll need air marshals already on board," Martinez said during the final briefing. "And we'll need to coordinate with air traffic control, airport security, and local law enforcement in 3 cities. The planning room hummed with activity as agents prepared for one of the most complex arrests in FBI aviation history. As the sun set over Washington, D.C., Martinez watched Mitchell's latest flight land safely on the flight tracker. Tomorrow, he would board flight SW-1244, thinking it was just another routine journey. But this time, federal agents would be waiting, ready to uncover a scandal that would rock the airline industry to its core. "Get some rest," Baker told his team. "Tomorrow, we end this." But as Martinez packed up her files, she couldn't help but wonder what other secrets they would uncover once Mitchell was in custody. Something told her this was just the beginning of a much bigger story. The surveillance operation began at dawn. FBI agents positioned themselves strategically around Mitchell's suburban Dallas home, disguised as gardeners, joggers, and utility workers. From their unmarked vans, they watched as the respected pilot began his morning routine. Special Agent Martinez sat in a car 2 blocks away, monitoring the live feed from hidden cameras. Mitchell's behavior seemed perfectly normal. He made coffee, kissed his wife goodbye, and checked his flight bag one last time. But today, the agents noticed something different. Mitchell made threes. "He's being careful," Martinez radioed to her team. "Too careful." The surveillance equipment picked up fragments of conversation, but Mitchell spoke in what appeared to be code. "Weather looking clear for the package," he said into his phone. "Green light for Tuesday's special delivery." At the airport, another team of agents tracked Mitchell's movements through the terminal. They'd placed tiny cameras in his office, the crew lounges, and maintenance areas. For 3 days straight, they watched and waited, building a detailed picture of his operation. The FBI's tech team had finally cracked Mitchell's encrypted laptop. What they found was shocking: a complex network of fake maintenance records, altered flight logs, and secret communications. But the most disturbing discovery was a list of dates and flight numbers, each marked with different colored dots. Red dots for regular flights, blue for compromised maintenance checks, and gold. Martinez paused, studying the pattern. Gold dots for special cargo. She pulled up the manifests for gold-dotted flights. On paper, everything looked normal, but the weight distributions told a different story. Meanwhile, Mitchell conducted himself with his usual professionalism. He led crew briefings, checked weather reports, and maintained his reputation as Southwest's most trusted pilot. But now, watching through surveillance feeds, agents could spot the subtle signs they'd missed before: the quick glances over his shoulder, the coded hand signals to certain ground crew members, the brief meetings in blind spots of the airport's security cameras. One afternoon, Mitchell visited the maintenance hangar for what should have been a routine inspection. FBI agents, disguised as mechanics, watched him closely. He spent exactly 17 minutes checking the cargo hold of a Boeing 737, but their sensors detected electronic equipment being activated during his inspection. "He's installed something," Baker reported back to headquarters. "Some kind of override system for the cargo bay doors." The technical team would later confirm that similar devices had been found on 5 other aircraft, all regularly flown by Mitchell or his close associates. The investigation revealed a pattern in Mitchell's flight routes. Every third Tuesday, he would fly to specific destinations where certain ground crew members would be waiting. The cargo manifests for these flights showed discrepancies: weights that didn't match passenger loads, cargo that disappeared between departure and arrival. Late one night, Martinez followed Mitchell to a private airfield outside Dallas. Hidden in the darkness, she photographed him meeting with 3 men in expensive suits. They handed him a thick envelope. The next day, $50,000 appeared in one of his offshore accounts. The FBI's financial analysts traced similar payments going back years. Mitchell had built a fortune, carefully hidden behind shell companies and fake identities. But he never flaunted his wealth, driving the same modest car and living in the same middle-class neighborhood. "That's how he stayed under the radar so long," Martinez explained to her team. "He played his role perfectly, the humble, dedicated pilot who always put safety first." The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. As they prepared for the arrest, agents compiled their evidence into a massive digital file. Videos, photos, financial records, and intercepted communications painted a picture of a criminal enterprise operating in plain sight. Mitchell had used his reputation as a shield, making him almost invisible to normal security checks. The surveillance operation had revealed something else. Mitchell was planning something big. His coded communications mentioned a final run and retirement package. Whatever he was planning, it would happen on flight SW-1244. "We can't wait any longer," Baker decided, reviewing the latest intelligence. "If we don't move now, we might lose our chance." Martinez nodded, knowing that soon she would come face to face with the man she'd been watching for weeks. As night fell over Dallas, Mitchell returned home, unaware that his every move was being monitored. Tomorrow would be his last flight, but not for the reasons he planned. The FBI's trap was set, and all the pieces were in place for one of the most dramatic arrests in aviation history. Flight SW-1244 began like any other morning at Los Angeles International Airport. Passengers filed onto the Boeing 737, stowing their bags and settling into their seats. In first class, Two air marshals posed as business travelers, discreetly checking their concealed weapons. Throughout the cabin, four more FBI agents sat scattered among regular passengers, all carefully coordinated for what was about to unfold. Captain James Mitchell went through his pre-flight checks with his usual precision. His co-pilot, Mark Stevens, had no idea that he too was an FBI agent, specially trained for this mission. As they prepared for takeoff, Mitchell's voice came over the intercom, calm and professional as always. "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Captain Mitchell speaking. We're looking at clear skies to Chicago today, with an estimated flight time of 4 hours and 10 minutes. The plane lifted smoothly into the morning sky, climbing to its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. In the cockpit, Mitchell checked his watch repeatedly, something the undercover co-pilot noticed but didn't mention. 1 hour into the flight, Mitchell excused himself to use the restroom, carrying his small leather bag. Now, Special Agent Martinez radioed from the ground command center. The operation was in motion. In the rear of the plane, an air marshal quietly approached the bathroom where Mitchell had entered. Another agent positioned himself on the other side. 3 minutes passed. 5 minutes. Far too long for a routine bathroom break. When Mitchell finally emerged, he froze at the sight of the armed marshals. His leather bag slipped from his fingers, spilling its contents, a satellite phone and a set of documents with coded markings. Before he could react, the marshals had him in custody. "Captain James Mitchell," the lead marshal announced quietly, keeping his voice low to avoid alarming other passengers. "You're under arrest for federal aviation safety violations and criminal conspiracy." In the cockpit, the FBI co-pilot had already taken full control of the aircraft. Ground control was notified, and the flight was diverted to Denver International Airport for an emergency landing. Most passengers remained unaware of the drama unfolding, thinking the diversion was due to mechanical issues. Mitchell sat silently in his seat, now flanked by air marshals. His captain's uniform, worn with such pride for 15 years, seemed to hang differently on him now. The FBI agents had found what they were looking for in his bag: detailed instructions for a mid-flight cargo drop and coordinates for a remote location. As the plane began its descent into Denver, flight attendants moved through the cabin, ensuring all passengers remained calm. One elderly woman noticed Mitchell sitting with the marshals and gasped, recognizing him from Southwest safety videos. The agents quickly diverted her attention. On the ground, a full FBI tactical team waited on the tarmac. The plane landed smoothly under the control of the FBI pilot, taxiing to a remote area of the airport. Passengers were told to remain seated as federal agents boarded the aircraft. "Ladies and gentlemen," an FBI agent announced over the intercom, "we apologize for any inconvenience. We need to handle a security matter, after which you'll be transferred to another flight to Chicago." Mitchell was led off the plane in handcuffs, walking past the same passengers who had taken selfies with him just hours earlier. Some recorded videos on their phones, unable to believe what they were seeing. The legendary Captain Mitchell, Southwest's most trusted pilot, in custody. Special Agent Martinez waited at the bottom of the aircraft stairs. "Captain Mitchell," she said, meeting his eyes for the first time after weeks of surveillance, "we have a lot to discuss." In the plane's cargo hold, agents discovered what Mitchell had tried to hide: a sophisticated remote release system installed near the cargo doors. The special delivery he had planned would never take place. The passengers were eventually shuttled to another aircraft, their original plane now part of a federal crime scene. News helicopters circled overhead as FBI evidence teams combed through every inch of the aircraft. As Mitchell sat in a Denver FBI field office for questioning, his perfect record officially came to an end. The flight that was supposed to be his biggest payday had become his final downfall. But for the FBI, this arrest was just the beginning. They knew Mitchell was part of something bigger, and now they had the key player in custody. Back in Dallas, Southwest Airlines executives were about to receive a phone call that would change everything. The airline's most celebrated pilot was now at the center of a scandal that would soon explode across headlines worldwide. The interrogation room at the Denver FBI field office was cold and stark. James Mitchell sat across from Special Agent Martinez, his pilot's uniform now wrinkled, his golden wings pin removed. On the table between them lay stacks of evidence: maintenance logs, flight records, and photographs that told a story of deception spanning years. "Let's start with the maintenance records," Martinez said, sliding a document across the table. 15 planes cleared. Meanwhile, at Southwest Airlines headquarters in Dallas, chaos erupted. FBI agents swarmed the building, armed with search warrants. They moved through offices, copying hard drives and seizing documents. Employees watched in shock as agents carried boxes from the maintenance department and executive suites. CDO Robert Thompson was in the middle of a board meeting when federal agents entered the conference room. "Everyone needs to stay where they are," the lead agent announced. "We have some questions about your safety protocols and maintenance procedures." As news of Mitchell's arrest spread, more people came forward. A junior mechanic named David Chen approached the FBI with a thumb drive containing years of falsified inspection reports. "Captain Mitchell wasn't working alone," he told agents. "There were executives who knew everything." The investigation revealed a complex web of corruption. Mitchell had been the face of the operation, using his reputation to deflect suspicion, but the scheme went all the way to the boardroom. Several high-ranking executives had been cutting corners on maintenance to save money, pocketing the difference through shell companies. In Chicago, FBI agents raided a warehouse registered to one of Mitchell's shell companies. Inside, they found stockpiles of aircraft parts, some new, some dangerously worn, along with detailed records of parts that had been swapped out and resold instead of being properly disposed of. "Each of these parts has a story," Martinez explained during a briefing. "They were removed from planes, documented as destroyed, but actually refurbished and resold. Some even found their way back into active aircraft." The scope of the scandal was growing by the hour. Southwest's stock price plummeted as the news broke. Television crews camped outside the airline's headquarters, capturing footage of worried employees leaving the building. Aviation experts appeared on news channels, explaining the severity of the safety violations. In the interrogation room, Mitchell finally began to talk. "It started small," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Just signing off on minor repairs without full inspections. Then they asked for more. Said we could all make good money if we played along." The FBI's financial team uncovered accounts in the Cayman Islands, Switzerland, and Dubai. Millions of dollars had been flowing through these accounts, carefully hidden behind layers of fake companies. 6 Southwest executives were implicated in the scheme. Martinez laid out photographs of the offshore properties bought with the stolen money: villas in Spain, apartments in Singapore, a yacht in the Mediterranean. Mitchell had never used any of them, living modestly to avoid attention. "The perfect cover," Martinez remarked. "The humble pilot who always put safety first." As the day wore on, more arrests were made. The FBI led Southwest's vice president of maintenance operations out of his home in handcuffs. 2 senior safety inspectors were arrested at the airport. A board member was detained while trying to board a private flight to Mexico. The human cost of the scandal began to emerge. Thousands of passengers had flown on improperly maintained aircraft. Though no accidents had occurred, the potential for disaster had been enormous. Aviation authorities began a massive inspection of Southwest's entire fleet. In the corporate offices, employees sat stunned at their desks, watching their company's reputation crumble. Many had worked with Mitchell for years, trusted him, looked up to him. Now they questioned every interaction, every decision, every signature on every document. By evening, Mitchell's confession was complete. He named names, provided passwords, revealed drop locations. The FBI had what they needed to unravel the entire operation. But one question remained unanswered. "Why?" Martinez asked him. "You've had everything: respect, admiration, a legacy. Why risk it all?" Mitchell stared at his reflection in the two-way mirror, seeing himself in his disheveled uniform. "Because I could," he finally answered. "Because the system trusted me so much, they stopped watching. And once you start, it's impossible to stop." As night fell over Denver, the FBI prepared to transport Mitchell to a federal holding facility. The scandal was far from over, but its architect had fallen. Southwest Airlines would never be the same, and the aviation industry had learned a harsh lesson about the price of blind trust. The FBI's forensic accountants worked through mountains of financial records in a secure room at their headquarters. What they uncovered was staggering: a criminal enterprise that had generated over $100 million in illegal profits through maintenance fraud, parts trafficking, and smuggling operations. Special Agent Martinez stood before a wall of evidence, connecting new dots in the complex investigation. The scheme had started 7 years ago when Mitchell met with two cargo handlers in Singapore during a routine layover. What began as a simple parts resale operation had grown into something much more sinister. The investigation revealed how Mitchell and his co-conspirators had perfected their system. They would identify planes scheduled for major maintenance, then follow. In a warehouse outside Dallas, FBI agents discovered a sophisticated operation for cleaning and remarking used aircraft parts. They even created fake certification documents, explained a forensic investigator. These parts looked brand new, but they were dangerously worn. Mitchell's cooperation led investigators to a network of corrupt maintenance workers at airports across the country. In Miami, they arrested 3 ground crew members who had been helping to move contraband through the cargo holds of passenger planes. In Los Angeles, 2 more arrests followed. The scale of the bribery became clear as agents interviewed Southwest employees. Mitchell had built a loyal network through careful manipulation and payoffs. Junior mechanics were first asked to do small favors, then gradually drawn into bigger schemes with promises of easy money. He knew exactly who to target, said one whistleblower. People with debt, gambling problems, sick family members. He helped them out, then owned them. The FBI discovered Mitchell kept detailed files on everyone involved, including compromising information to ensure their silence. The cargo smuggling operation was even more sophisticated. Mitchell had modified cargo bay doors on several aircraft to allow mid-flight drops of packages in remote areas. The FBI found GPS coordinates for drop zones in desert areas of Nevada and Arizona, along with records of payments from unknown sources. During interrogation, Mitchell revealed how they avoided detection. "We never got greedy," he explained. "Small amounts, spread out over time. Nobody notices when things disappear slowly." His methodical approach had kept the scheme hidden for years. The investigation uncovered a hidden computer system in Mitchell's home office. It contained encrypted communications with contacts in Asia and South America, discussing shipment schedules and payment arrangements. The FBI's cyber team was still decoding messages that could lead to more arrests. At Southwest's maintenance facilities, investigators found tools and equipment specifically designed for the illegal operation. False panels had been installed in some planes to create secret compartments. Maintenance logs were systematically altered to hide these modifications. "The technical sophistication is remarkable," noted an FAA inspector working with the FBI. They knew exactly how to bypass safety systems without triggering alerts. The conspiracy had effectively created a shadow maintenance program within Southwest's legitimate operations. The financial impact on Southwest Airlines was devastating. As news of the scandal spread, passengers canceled reservations, and corporate clients suspended their contracts. The company's stock continued to fall as more details emerged about the extent of the safety violations. Martinez interviewed former colleagues of Mitchell, trying to understand how he had maintained his facade for so long. "He was always the first to volunteer for safety committees," one pilot recalled. "Now we know why. He was making sure he could control the inspection process." In his confession, Mitchell described how the operation grew beyond his control. What started as a simple scheme to make extra money had evolved into an international criminal enterprise. "The more successful we were, the more people wanted in," he admitted. "It became impossible to stop." The FBI's evidence room filled with boxes of falsified documents, computer hard drives, and modified aircraft parts. Each piece told part of a story about how one of America's most trusted airlines had been compromised from within. As evening approached, Martinez reviewed security footage showing Mitchell teaching safety procedures to new pilots. The irony was painful. The man entrusted with protecting passengers had been putting them at risk for years. The investigation was far from over, but one thing was clear. The arrest of James Mitchell had exposed more than just criminal activity. It had revealed dangerous flaws in the aviation industry's trust-based safety systems, flaws that would force fundamental changes in how airlines operate. The news broke like a thunderclap across the nation. Every major network led with the same headline: "Trusted pilot arrested. Southwest Airlines safety scandal exposed." Camera crews swarmed outside Southwest's headquarters, capturing the chaos as employees hurried past, heads down, refusing to comment. CNN aired exclusive footage of Mitchell being led into the federal courthouse in Denver, his pilot's uniform replaced by an orange jumpsuit. The image of Southwest's most celebrated pilot in handcuffs sent shockwaves through the aviation industry. "This is unprecedented," aviation expert Michael Chang told ABC News. "We're not just talking about one pilot gone rogue. This is a systematic breakdown of safety protocols at one of America's largest airlines." The morning shows ran endless loops of Mitchell's old safety videos, now haunting reminders of his deception. "This is a catastrophic breach of trust," said financial analyst Sarah Rodriguez on CNBC. "Southwest built its brand on safety and reliability. That reputation is now in tatters." Trading in Southwest stock was temporarily halted multiple times due to volatile price swings. Passengers began canceling flights en masse. Southwest's booking system crashed under the weight of people trying to change their travel plans. The airline's call centers were overwhelmed, with wait times stretching to several hours. Airport counters faced angry crowds demanding refunds. Southwest's competitors quickly responded. American, United, and Delta offered special fares for stranded Southwest passengers. Their marketing teams worked overtime, subtly highlighting their own safety records while avoiding direct mentions of the scandal. The media frenzy intensified when former Southwest employees began coming forward. A retired mechanic appeared on 60 Minutes, describing how he tried to report safety violations years ago but was silenced. His emotional interview drew millions of viewers. "I knew something wasn't right," he said, wiping away tears. But Mitchell was untouchable. Everyone trusted him completely. The interview sparked new investigations into how many warnings have been ignored or suppressed. Class action lawyers spotted their opportunity. Law firms across the country began running advertisements seeking passengers who had flown on Southwest during the years of Mitchell's scheme. Legal experts predicted billions in potential liability. "Every passenger who flew on a compromised aircraft is a potential plaintiff," explained attorney Lisa Martinez, no relation to the FBI agent, on Fox News. "The airline knowingly put people at risk. That's a massive legal exposure." Southwest's PR team struggled to contain the damage. They issued statement after statement, promising full cooperation with investigators and comprehensive safety reviews. But each new revelation made their reassurances seem hollow. The airline's CEO appeared on national television, looking haggard and defensive. "We are shocked and appalled by these revelations," he said. "This is not who we are." But viewers noticed he never directly apologized or accepted responsibility. Late-night comedy shows found dark humor in the situation. Hosts joked about Southwest's special delivery services and Mitchell's double life. But behind the laughs was a serious question: how could this happen at a major airline? Aviation unions call for industry-wide reforms. "This isn't just about Southwest," declared the Pilots Association president. "This is about the integrity of our entire aviation system." Other airlines faced increased scrutiny as regulators rushed to prove they were taking action. Inside Southwest, morale hit rock bottom. Employees who had once proudly worn their uniforms now changed out of them before leaving work. Some reported being harassed in public, blamed for a scandal they knew nothing about. The human toll mounted as Southwest began laying off workers to cut costs. Thousands of employees faced uncertain futures, their careers tainted by association with the scandal. Long-serving staff members watched in despair as their retirement savings, tied up in company stock, evaporated. International media picked up the story, damaging America's reputation for aviation safety. Foreign regulators announced special inspections of all Southwest aircraft landing at their airports. The scandal threatened to become a diplomatic issue. As day turned to night, news helicopters continued circling Southwest's headquarters, their cameras capturing the stream of FBI agents still carrying out boxes of evidence. The company that had once been a model of American business success now stood as a symbol of corporate corruption. The media firestorm showed no signs of slowing down. This was more than just another corporate scandal. It was a story that touched on fundamental questions of trust, safety, and accountability in modern air travel. and it was far from over. 6 months after James Mitchell's dramatic mid-air arrest, the impact of the Southwest Airlines scandal continued to ripple through the aviation industry. In a packed federal courthouse in Dallas, Mitchell stood before the judge for sentencing, his once proud posture now broken. "The court sentences you to 25 years in federal prison," the judge declared, her voice firm. "Your actions not only betrayed public trust but knowingly put thousands of lives at risk." Mitchell showed no emotion as he was led away, avoiding the eyes of his former colleagues in the gallery. Southwest Airlines was hit with the largest fine in aviation history, $2 billion for systematic safety violations. The FAA's final report detailed over 3,000 instances of falsified maintenance records and hundreds of compromised aircraft parts. The airline's entire board of directors had resigned in disgrace. Southwest Airlines barely survived. After laying off 40% of its workforce and selling off half its fleet, the company emerged from bankruptcy under new ownership and a different name: American Southwest. Their distinctive blue and red planes were repainted, erasing all traces of the old brand. Inside federal prison, Mitchell began writing a memoir that publishers fought to acquire. His story captivated the public: how a respected pilot had built a criminal empire within one of America's largest airlines. The rights to his story sold for millions, money that went directly to a victim compensation fund. Special Agent Martinez testified before Congress about the investigation. "This case revealed dangerous gaps in our aviation safety system," she explained. "We trusted too much and verified too little." Her team's work led to the creation of a new FBI aviation crimes unit. The whistleblowers who helped break the case received both rewards and recognition. David Chen, the junior mechanic who provided crucial evidence, was hired by the FAA to help develop new safety protocols. His story became a symbol of moral courage in the face of corporate pressure. International aviation authorities implemented their own reforms. The Southwest Effect led to worldwide changes in how airlines were monitored and regulated. No longer could any pilot or executive have unchecked authority over safety decisions. The victims' families formed a support group, sharing stories of close calls and near misses. Though no planes had crashed, the psychological impact of knowing they had flown on compromised aircraft affected many passengers. Class action settlements eventually topped $5 billion. Mitchell's wife filed for divorce and moved away with their children, changing their names to escape the scandal's shadow. Former friends and colleagues struggled to reconcile the man they knew with the criminal he turned out to be. His official pilot's portrait was removed from Southwest's headquarters and destroyed. In prison, Mitchell worked as a maintenance instructor, teaching other inmates basic repair skills. His knowledge, once used for criminal purposes, now served a rehabilitative role. But he would never again be allowed near an aircraft or airport. The aviation industry slowly rebuilt its reputation. New technology made it harder to falsify records or bypass safety systems. Regular employees felt more empowered to report suspicious behavior without fear of retaliation. Trust, when it returned, came with strong verification. 5 years after the scandal, a documentary titled "The Perfect Flight" examined how Mitchell's scheme had evolved and why it went undetected for so long. Aviation schools now use the case as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked authority and the importance of maintaining professional integrity. The final cost of the scandal extended beyond money. It changed how Americans viewed air travel, making them more aware of the complex systems keeping them safe. The blind trust in airlines was replaced by informed confidence in stronger safety measures. In his prison cell, Mitchell kept a small news clipping about his last flight, SW-1244 from Los Angeles. The flight that should have been his biggest score became instead his final descent from respected captain to convicted criminal. It served as a daily reminder of how far he had fallen. The scandal's legacy lived on in new laws, changed procedures, and reformed institutions. But perhaps its most lasting impact was the lesson it taught: that safety in aviation requires not just trust in individuals, but systems of accountability that protect passengers from those who would betray that trust. As the sun set on the old Southwest Airlines era, a new day dawned in aviation safety, one where no single person, no matter how trusted or respected, could ever again put so many lives at risk for personal gain.